welcome to Middle School Against Coronavirus.
She's Isabella, and I'm Laura. Isabella is in 7th grade. She loves school, by the way. She loves her friends, she loves her teacher, she loves the schoolwork. She's been part of a lot of activities at school and has been bummed that everything is being done at home for the past several weeks. So we decided to talk about what it's like being a middle schooler going through the coronavirus lockdown.
Yeah, and if you're new, go back and listen to our other episodes.
Yes, you can listen to the other 3 episodes, and this is our 4th one. We had a delay in doing the 4th one for a few reasons. The biggest reason is that your dad had a knee replacement surgery, and it has been quite an experience, not just for him, but for me, particularly as a caretaker. It's been very time-consuming, and I'm the one who edits the podcast. And also for you, Isabella, it's added a stress for you because you're used to your being able to play with your dad, and now he's just having to recover from a very serious surgery.
Yeah, my dad's starting to feel better. And we have a loyal companion, our cat Marco, who's new to the family, to help care for him and give him love.
But right now, he's not doing that. What's he doing right now?
Right now, he's going crazy. And since we're the ones awake, he is interfering. So
Yes.
If you hear any background noise, it's probably him.
He likes to climb the carpet on the bottom half of the wall in the studio, and he's just generally trying to get attention from us.
Soon he'll be asleep because we just gave him his food.
Yes, he sleeps soon after he eats. So this week on Middle School Against Coronavirus, instead of crafts, you'll be talking about...
Card games.
Because you really love playing cards, and you have a way of finding a lot of different ways to play with cards.
Yes, and I do that mostly by a website I found off of reading a box of cards. I go to a website from Bicycle Cards. It's bicyclecards.com, I believe. And you can click a tab, and it will pull up how to play a card game. So you can click what type you want to do, how many people, and then you enter it, and it will give you a list of card games that you may know or you can learn.
Oh, that's really neat. We'll talk about more of the card games in just a moment, but first, you would like to address what's happening in the news.
Yes, our governor of Georgia is starting to reopen the state, but I think that that's not the best idea because if we open up everything too early while people are still getting sick, still dying, still getting reported for cases.
We're now past 20,000 cases of coronavirus, and in our county alone, it's gone up a lot over the past several days.
Really?
Yes.
I don't think they should open up until they're 100% sure they've tested everyone because my dad was just in the hospital getting surgery, but we don't believe that he got tested. I would suggest opening everything up once you're absolutely sure that you've gotten everyone tested.
My problem with the state opening early is some of the things that are being opened. Those include gyms. The people who are diligent when they work out at a gym, they do wipe their sweat off of each machine after they use it. But it doesn't mean that if they don't use the disinfectant wipes, then the germs might still be there. Not to mention if you're working out hard, sweat flies off your forehead. So I don't think those should be open right now. That's my personal opinion. And your karate school, Isabella, falls under that of a gym, but they have made the decision
to keep it closed until their agreed upon opening time with the owners. And also, I don't think they should open it up so early. You have to let a disease run its course. We're in a global pandemic. You want to make sure that everyone's kind of in unison, slowing this down, and you don't want to do it too early, because if you do it too early, then people with the coronavirus can still spread it, and it can mutate with whatever antibodies we come up with. It can mutate and be stronger the next time it pops up, and it will be even worse for businesses, because on Fox News, which the governor appeared on, he talked about small businesses being in a struggle, and he wants to open them up so that they can get back on their feet. They may get back on their feet, but if we open it too early, it will just go downhill, and they'll be out of business because they recovered, but they're going to have to wait twice as long as this, maybe about as long as this, but they won't be able to recover from both heavy hits. They could get back up on their feet a little bit, they'd still be struggling, but they'd just fall right back down, and they wouldn't be able to get up.
So you're saying just continue with this one hit of being closed instead of reopening and having the disease spring back, maybe even worse, and having to close for even longer and taking a bigger hit.
Yeah, and maybe even closing forever. I mean, it can really hurt a business.
Well, it's not just businesses, it's schools. I'm Laura, and this is Isabella. She's a 7th grader, so it's Middle School Against Coronavirus, our podcast. We have a magic phone. And when the news broke about the governor talking about opening the state, we used our magic phone to text him. Because I know, Isabella, that you and your friends and your teachers all miss each other, and you'd like to have a final day or a final few weeks at school, which ends in the middle of May, to just reconnect before you move on to the next stage.
And get stuff out of our lockers.
Yes, and get stuff out of your lockers. Can you imagine if somebody left a lunch in there?
Oh my God.
So we used our magic phone to text the governor of Georgia, and he wrote back pretty quickly, too. Thank you, Governor Kemp. He wrote back, "Thanks, Laura. Schools will not be back. The superintendents and educational leaders asked for me to call the year so they could focus on distance learning and prepare for the fall." So it's not just his decision to keep them closed, but they will stay closed.
But you know what they could do? They're not technically opening up the school, but they can initiate a last day of school or not a last day of school, but a little get-together. Like, you have certain times to be with each of your classes. Because you might not have everyone in the same class. So you'd get to see everyone you know in your classes and have kind of a little get-together.
That would be great also and you don't know this, Isabella, but I just ordered you a yearbook. So for the kids to get together and do their yearbook signing.
Yeah. I did not have any idea, but I honestly really don't want one this year because I got one in 6th grade, and that has a lot of my friends, the ones in 7th grade and 8th grade in that year, most of which have gone to 9th and 8th grade, and they'll be going away next year. I mean, I wanted one last year because it was my first year in middle school, but I've been settled in.
Well, you do different things each year, and this year, as part of the Helen Ruffin Reading Bowl team, you made it to where you won the district championship, and so that's one of the many things that'll be in there. And when you get older, you'll want to look back on that.
Yeah, and we got all the way to Division II competition. We got second, but that was actually a good thing because would you want to lose at one and not be able to continue, or win at something and know you're going to face off to be the state champion for that year and find out it's been canceled?
Yes, so that was unusual this year. They canceled the state championship competition, and they made, I think you told me this, they made the top 2 teams both the winners, right?
Yeah.
And then
if you're in a competition, you don't want to die.
You were also supposed to compete in a math competition that you were looking forward to, and your teacher was as well. And I was bummed that you didn't get to do that. I love that you love math.
I am part of the Midway Middle School math team, or was until this mess. On the bright side, we didn't order shirts. Yeah, it'd be nice to have a shirt for this year, but it's also good because we don't have to spend money on something that we're not going to be able to do.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. Oh, look at those puppy dog eyes. So sad. Speaking of math, and I remember thinking and feeling this in school, especially in geometry. I hated my geometry teacher in high school, but it's like, when am I going to use this? Your aunt, my twin sister, is almost 30 years in the Coast Guard. She did 2 years active duty and has been reservist ever since. She's a lieutenant commander and was just involuntarily activated to go down to Miami and oversee the COVID-19 response in Miami. And her first day there, she sent us a picture of something from that area that involved math in the job. So it's proof, and you started writing it out as an equation right away. It's proof that you do need to know algebra and things like that.
So the equation is n equals, in parentheses, 1.38, and another parentheses, meaning multiplication in some types of math, p times d. And that's in parentheses, and then we have divided by 1,000. So I wrote it out as n equals 1.38p times 1.38d divided by 1,000. And there's also a note at the bottom that says the actual number of illness cases reported to be greater than n to be considered an outbreak. So I would put instead of an equal sign, I would put n is less than or equal to 1.38p times 1.38d divided by 1,000.
Yeah, what she said. And the calculation, it's a CDC ILI threshold calculation about coronavirus. And I believe this is used on cruise ships.
Yes. I'll tell you what the variables are if you want to try and solve it in some way, shape, or form. So n is the number of cumulative ill cases needed to reach the threshold outbreak criteria. P is the total number of passengers or crew members. D is the number of days on board the voyage at the time of reporting to Q station. And then the last one, where equation for D equals report to Q station date, departure time, first day of the voyage.
So even if at some point you thought, oh, it'll be fun to work on a cruise ship, you still need to know math. Well, you and I have both missed your Aunt Kel a lot because we've been staying away from each other because of this. We don't want to risk getting each other sick. We're not going out much, but we've had to go to the doctor with your dad, and we've had to go to the store to pick things up. And she usually takes you to do something fun on spring break, which was last week. Last year, she took you on a tour of the military academies to show you what you could do for college.
It's a road trip across the Northeast. New England.
You went to which academies?
So I went to the Coast Guard Academy, the Army Academy, I believe the Navy Academy, and I think that was all.
And you liked?
I liked the Coast Guard Academy the best.
She was going to do a road trip with you again this year, and I forget the factory. She was going to take you to some factory tour and just other cool stuff.
It technically wasn't going to be a road trip. I was going to be at my Uncle Michael's apartment, and we would go to a bunch of factories, and we were also going to go swim with manatees again, which we did 2 spring breaks ago.
Yes, and you loved swimming with the manatees, and
yes.
You were
the cabin we stayed in.
And you were very excited about that. So your Uncle Michael lives in Jacksonville. He's also in the Coast Guard. You actually did spend a few days with them over this past spring break because your dad was having a rough time that first week after surgery, and you really missed her and she missed you. So you went and spent time with them. And what did you do during that time, even though you couldn't go out and do all the stuff she had originally planned?
Well, I was in South Carolina, and my aunt taught me some more gun safety.
Oh, good.
She's been teaching me gun safety.
She's a gun instructor. Yeah, so she taught you gun safety and as well as active shooter safety. She's been doing that in bits throughout your life. Then once you spent time with her in South Carolina, what did you do?
Well, I took a paint class, a Harry Potter paint class without school. I painted Harry Potter Patronus, which is a stag.
And that's an online class?
Yes. And then we went to Jacksonville. We played some video games requested by my Aunt Cal, which is not usual. She requested a Ghostbuster video game. And then I also played a Call of Duty Black Ops 2. And we played the Survival Zombies. And I think I'm improving. But I can't tell you for sure.
It was really funny to get texts from my sister saying she was doing work for her jobs and Isabella and her Uncle Michael are playing this zombie killing video game. And she's like, I wish you could hear it. They're so funny, the things they say to each other as they're playing the zombie killing game.
And also, they recently got a cat, which is what made us get a cat. So I got to spend time with her. Her name is Snickers. She can be lovey. She can also be feisty. She's learned to growl.
Oh, are you talking about hissing?
No, she didn't hiss. She growled.
Oh, now I know what you're talking about. Got it.
Yeah.
So you were stuck inside, but you still had fun.
Yeah, I got to be with doggies, a cat, and my aunt and uncle. All right, who's ready for card games?
I'm ready for card games.
All right, so these are 2 types of solitaire games. The type of solitaire I'm going to be telling you are actually really fun.
Until 2 nights ago, I had never in my life played solitaire with real cards or on the computer. So she taught me how to play, and then she taught me these other games.
Yes. A or B?
A.
All right. I'm going to tell you all how to play with solitaire. And if you have any questions, you can always leave them in the comments down below. And for Middle School Against Coronavirus, which is our podcast, and we'll try and respond in best we can to your questions.
This is Isabella, and I'm Laura.
And so the first one, with solitaire, first you have to separate the 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6s from the deck, all of them. You don't need them. Once you do that, you want to shuffle them up because you just saw the cards.
Yes.
And you're going to put them face down into piles of 4. And don't, just take piles of 4 from the deck and put it down. Put them down singly because the top card of the deck that you put down first is technically moved from its original position. So put it down, 4 cards. You're going to do that till you're out of cards and you have you should have 8 piles of cards. And for anyone who has this question, yes, you leave the aces in. I know I said 2 through 6s get out, but the aces stay in.
Yes.
In this case, we're considering aces to be a high card, not a low card. And so what you do is you flip the card on top of the piles face up, and you match them. So if it's king and a king, an 8 and an 8, a 10 or a 10, a queen or a queen, you take those off, you put them in a separate pile, and you turn those 2 over. Your goal is to get all the cards cleared. And if you get them all cleared on your first try, then supposedly you can make a wish and it could come true. But only the first time. Nothing else.
Luckily, I made it.
Yes.
And my wish started coming true yesterday, but I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Yeah, because if you say a wish, it doesn't come true.
Mm-hmm.
And so the second one is a game called Clock Solitaire. And so for any young ones, this is a really good game to learn your clock numbers. The standard ones, not numbers that go by 5s. So what you're going to do, shuffle those 2s or 6s back in. If you just played Wish Solitaire, you shuffle your deck, and so you do the same deal in the 4 pile, but the cards are face up, and you're going to deal out the entire deck into 13 piles of 4 cards, and so you put 12 of them in a circle, like a clock circle, and then that last remaining one you put in the middle. The card that's on top, the middle card, you put according to its clock number. So you have to associate a 12, a 6, a 3, a 9. And then also, once you do that, whatever card you pull up, ace through 10, 1 through 10, standard numbers. But a jack and a queen. A jack is an 11. A queen is a 12. But the kings, those are the ones you want to look out for. Because if you get a king, well, let me explain a little more. So you grab the card that's on top of the middle pile, and you put it face down underneath the pile that has that associated number. And you pick the top card up, and you move around same way.
Going through all the numbers on the clock.
Well, going through whatever number pops up.
Yeah.
And until you reach a king. And if you get a king, you put that in the middle. But if you get all 4 kings in the middle before the entire clock has no more cards face up, you've lost.
So far, I've lost 3 times. Have you ever won it?
I think there was one instance where, like, I had all the kings in the center, but the ones that still had cards face up were designated to the pile, so I just counted it as turning it over. Because it wasn't like anything was going to go under there to flip it over.
And once again, you find these games where?
On bicyclecards.com.
And it's not just solitaire games that are on the Bicycle Cards website.
There are poker games, family games, kid games. They have some rummy games. They have a ton of games.
She has brought up several different family games and taught them to us, including one called Golf, which is fun.
6-card golf. I have never lost a game.
Yeah.
So it's like regular golf. You want to get the lowest number possible, preferably in the negatives, which you can get because 2s are negative. And I have exceedingly high standards for myself, and I normally get numbers in the negatives, and I've won games with my total score in the negatives. Double digits.
So
yes, I'm now flexing.
If you're looking for things to do with your family and your friends that are fairly simple with just a deck of cards, you can go to the Bicycle website. A little later today, we are going to play charades through FaceTime with one of her friends and her friend's mom. It's going to be parents versus kids, Disney themed.
I did a little research, and there were a bunch of Quizlets that were Disney charades.
Oh, good. When it comes to other forms of entertainment, something I recently binge watched, and it involves middle school, is Stranger Things. Now, I had avoided watching that show, even though I thought it was cool that it takes place in the 80s, because I'm not a horror person, and there's horror. I decided to give it a try because I saw that you had given it a try, and I said, well, I want to see what's on here. You didn't watch it after the first episode, and I got hooked, and in a little more than a week, went through all 3 seasons of Stranger Things. And it's about these middle school kids, and even though there's some horror in there, there are some really good themes of friendship, forgiveness, and different things like that. So there are some good themes to the show.
And that's what made me not want to rewatch it.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Because you ruined the fun.
By watching it, I ruined the fun?
No. By telling me there are a ton of happy meanings. It's a horror movie. It's a horror show. And technically, I only stopped watching it because I over-anticipated, and I also watched it right before bed.
Oh! Yeah, it's a little tough watching it before bed. If you don't know this, Stranger Things is filmed in Georgia because Georgia has such a huge film industry, and it's been on hiatus because of the coronavirus, but with the state reopening, I'm wondering how soon they'll start filming again, because they are filming for season 4. Anything else that you've watched that's new?
I would say I recently watched, I've started watching a lot more YouTube videos, and a channel I watched a long time ago, but revisited, is the Film Theory / Game Theory channel, and there are a lot of fans out there, and I was just watching some of the theories kind of for fun. Two of the ones I told my family about, they don't watch the Film Theory, but I do. One of them was a Disney death count. Which Disney movie has the highest death count? And also the total number of Disney death count that you see in the movies. And
Not necessarily gory deaths.
Yeah, like, it's not technically all that you see, but deaths that were kind of shown in the movie.
The evil villain got killed.
Yeah. And so there was a total of over 3,000. Now,
Wow.
That probably just ruined your childhood. So I suggest you stop listening if you love Jeopardy, because I also watched one on saying that Jeopardy cheated to get one of the best players that got them the best ratings and watching and getting people to watch it. They kicked them off supposedly intentionally, and the internet blew up about this.
Once again, though, this is film theory. It's not fact.
Yeah, as this extra goes. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory.
So you've been binge watching YouTube videos.
Yeah.
You are also a big reader, but it's not just physical reading, it's audiobooks. So what are you, and if you've been talking to your friends about it, what are they listening to on audiobooks and physically reading?
I've been rereading a book I came to love from Audible. It's a Stalking Jack the Ripper series. It's technically for teens, but if you can handle descriptive gore, you should read it, because it's a really good mystery series.
I want you
It's
to
about
know,
female empowerment.
this is normally a very sweet, loving, affectionate girl. So she's not someone you would automatically think of gore with. She's just listening to it and reading it. But you're also learning a little bit about Jack the Ripper.
Kind of. So the one I've been rereading anyway, I've re-listened to it a lot, is Hunting Prince Dracula. So after the Stalking Jack the Ripper and finding out who Jack the Ripper is, I'm not spoiling it because I'm not a spoiler.
Okay.
When she finds out, it kind of mentally instabilizes her. She's going to Romania, Transylvania, to Bran Castle, which is Dracula's castle. It was owned by Vlad Dracula, Vlad the Impaler. That's what Dracula was actually based on. And so it's filled with some fact, but in the setting, it's a criminalistic, cadaver. And actually, no, I'm not going to say it.
So it's Hunting Count Dracula.
No, Hunting Prince Dracula.
Hunting Prince Dracula. And that, another one you're listening to on Audible. Have your friends talked about what they're listening to on Audible or reading?
No. But ones I have been listening to on Audible are Star Wars books. Master and Apprentice. I finished that one. Love it. Yeah. I haven't started rereading it yet, but I love it. And also Star Wars Aftermath. I have the book and I read it, but I wanted to listen to it just for fun. And Hoodoo, which I read last year for Helen Ruffin Reading Bowl. Love that one too.
Hoodoo, you said? Got it. What about music? What are you listening to now with regards to music?
Same stuff I've been listening to. Pop music, kids pop music. No judging people on the internet. And also, Phineas and Ferb music. You can bring up something, and my dad and I will almost always find a Phineas and Ferb song. And we make Phineas and Ferb jokes all the time, and the lovely lady right next to me in this podcast doesn't watch Phineas and Ferb she didn't watch Phineas and Ferb with us. It sadly ended, but there's Milo Murphy's Law. We also find songs with that. But we can make jokes, and my partner doesn't get it.
I know a little Phineas and Ferb, but not like you and Daddy. So you could say curtain, and they'll have a song for it, and they'll start singing it. It's amusing. I love it. Phineas and Ferb, it's actually a good cartoon. It's smart.
It's about engineering, kind of STEM, and how summer belongs to you.
But you figured out something, even though technically you're still in school, you're home. So you figured out something with regards to what they always say in this theme song and what's happening now with the coronavirus at-home stuff.
So in the theme song, they say they have 104 days of summer vacation, and school comes along just to end it. And I figured out from when we've been out till when we are supposed to get back, just kind of hypothetically speaking, we will be out longer than Phineas and Ferb is supposedly out of school.
So then what huge contraption are you going to come up with? Oh, there's thunder.
Yeah, let's finish this up. I don't want to be in a room with technology.
We'll be finishing this up. We really appreciate you listening each week to Middle School Against Coronavirus. Or if you're a new listener, thank you so much. I'm Laura, and this is Isabella. And one more thing before we go, Isabella, because this is Middle School Against Coronavirus, it's talking about the changes in our lives since school got shut down, other things got shut down. Now some things are reopening in Georgia.
It should stay closed.
Aside from that, what feelings have been going through you since all of this has gone on?
Boredom, missing my friends, missing my aunt who comes by and social distance, but I can't touch her or hug her.
And this is her other aunt, my sister Carmen.
Yes, the one that lives near us.
She lives near us, but she is still having to go to work, and a few people at her job have been diagnosed with coronavirus. So even though she's not right next to them, she wears the gloves, she wears the mask, she has all the disinfectant. She doesn't want to get Isabella sick, which is so sweet. But my sister also is immunocompromised, so if we were to bring it home from the doctor with taking your dad to doctor visits, then, we might get her sick. So you two just spent more than an hour talking to each other on the porch. She was at the bottom and you were at the top. She had her gloves and her mask and everything.
We just kept distance.
You kept your distance. So at least you got to spend that time together. But it's not the same as we miss having her in the house, playing games, watching movies together.
Yeah.
Aw. What?
And she recently got something for my partner, which is why I set out talking with her for a while. What was it?
Yes. I love Cottonelle toilet paper. Growing up, my dad would get Scott tissue, which I thought was hard and awful, and I hated it. So when I got older, I said, I'm going to splurge on a few things, and one of them is toilet paper. And with this going on, I got some, but I didn't want to buy out the stores because other people needed it. So I figured they'd be restocked by the time ours ran out. Well, we're on the last roll, and the stores, anytime I go to the stores or I've been looking online, I can't find Cottonelle. I could only find hard, cheap stuff, not even the name brand hard stuff. Somehow, she managed to get one 12-pack of Cottonelle. She was at a Dollar General, and there was one pack, and she bought it for me, and I'm so happy.
Yes, we're going to leave that to her, because she's brand-specific,
Yes.
while I'm food-specific, and she's specific.
Yes. Well, we hope you stay safe, and as the state continues to reopen, we'll monitor what happens.
Okay, bye!
Hey, if you want to send us an audio message that we can include in the next podcast, you can do so. Send it to Voice of Laura Anderson, and that's Laura Anderson @gmail.com. That's Voice of Laura Anderson @gmail.com. Just record an audio message, send it to us as long as it's not mean or profane, and we'll include it in the next podcast. We'd love to hear from you with Middle School Against Coronavirus. Have a great day.
Bye.